tonight's show, I know that we have done this topic before, but I want to go over it again because there's been many questions about it. And I want to tell you, I'm going to be referencing to an author's, William Buhlman, and let me spell that for you. Buhlman is his last name. William Buhlman's books, Adventures Beyond the Body and The Secret of the Soul. Those are the two books that I'm referencing tonight and that I recommend for you guys if you want to learn how to do out-of-body traveling, that you check out those books. They're very, very good. And Mr. Buhlman has been in the out-of-body travel business for a long time. He has CDs and other things of great interest, and you can find his books on Amazon.com, and I think probably other places too. I'm fascinated myself with the phenomenon of astral travel and out-of-body travel. I have been an active participant in both of them practically all of my life. And it is what I would believe, learning how to accomplish out-of-body travel is probably your connection to the other side, the strongest connection. You know, all out-of-body experiences, or OBEs as they're sometimes called, are personal experiences during which people feel as if they're perceiving the physical world from a location outside of their physical bodies. There's a separation involved. It's a mental event that happens to all kinds of people, healthy, sick, and otherwise. And there's some speculation out there that 1 in every 5 people have had an out-of-body experience in their lives. But most people have them during sleep period and do not recall them. So they've been classified as strange dream phenomena, but they are remarkably connected to sleep paralysis, and I disagree with that hypothesis. But you'll hear some of the scientists connecting them, but they're not what the scientists think they are. Sleep paralysis sometimes does occur when people are falling into or waking from REM sleep. But with sleep paralysis, the muscles of the body, excluding the eye muscles, and those responsible for circulation and respiration, are immobilized by the nerve center in the lower brain, and that does not happen when you have an OBE. So there are some specific differences there, and I want you to be aware of them because you can get tripped up on that. There are conscious transitions out of the body. And the most dramatic is, leaving the body directly from a waking state into the inner world. And some people can do that. I do that during meditation. And but some people can do it spontaneously while relaxing or lying in bed, Another phenomenon that happens a lot is waking up in a dream, like we discussed last week, lucid dreaming. And that's the most common method of spiritual travel that happens when a traveler wakes up in a dream. The sense of waking up brings with it a kind of excitement, and it's kind of a feeling of increased awareness, self-determination, and concentration. And it gives you a wonderful sense of freedom and possibility. Lucid dreaming is very, very good for you. And so is out-of-body travel when you learn to master it. Another form of out-of-body travel is sometimes referred to as bilocation, or alternating awareness of your inner and outer environments. As a scientist can hang on some big explanations for these things. But a lot of people can shift, and myself included, back and forth between the outer world of the senses and a separate inner reality. When I'm doing readings for people, I shift back and forth, and it's instantaneous for me because I've been doing it for years, and if you get good at it, it helps you be able to be really in two separate realities at once. And sometimes it's very difficult, when you're reading for somebody, if you're shifting into the second sense, you could forget about the reality of what's really going on here, and so you have to learn how to do that carefully. But especially when you do it with specific speed, such as I do when I'm reading for somebody. I want to address those in the chat room for a moment here. We're not going to be taking any calls during the first hour of this show. All calls will be taken on the second hour. And I want to remind everybody, if somebody thinks that this might be a good place to prank us, I am, and I'm recording all of the numbers that you call in on. Even the Skype numbers are being recorded. So I will have to tell you that we had a little bit of problem the last time we had a show, and I did report the call-in numbers to BTR, and you'll be hearing from them. So if you're going to prank somebody, I suggest that you just don't do us tonight, because I will keep copies of the chat room, and I will report you to BTR immediately. Okay, having said that, I want to get back to our topic here. I want to give you kind of a brief anatomy of an out-of-body experience. And these are the things that happen most often during an out-of-body experience. Some people don't have one or two of the stages, but most of the people have all three. And the number one stage is the vibrational stage. And at that stage, energy vibrations flow throughout the body. There's buzzing and humming. You might even hear a roaring sound, along with occasional numbness and catalepsy. You can't move, often accompany the vibrations. The vibrations and their intensity are immense. People have reported them through all scales. They can range from mild and soothing to intense and very startling. I don't have the vibrational stage. Mine's a real smooth transition in and out, so I never feel the vibrations that some others do. So I want to say you may not ever feel that vibrational stage, but there are a great many that do. So be prepared for that. If you're prepared for the vibrational stage and your body starts to vibrate, you can feel it. You're not as nearly as frightened as if you're not prepared for it. Because during the vibrational stage, the consciousness is shifted to the non-physical energy body. And the vibrations and sounds, the inner signals, are not physical events, as some believe, but are the conscious recognition of the higher frequency body as it separates or moves out of phase with your physical body. So it's kind of like a jerky feeling, according to the reports that I've had. The second stage of anatomy of out-of-body travel is the separation stage. When the subtle energy body separates from the physical body, there is a general, distinct feeling of lifting, floating, or rolling out of the physical, and I feel that really strongly. It's almost like I don't know. it's like you feel like you're kind of just rolling out of a body of water. That's how it is with me. Like I'm turning over out of a pool into emptiness. And it's after the separations are complete, there's generally no feeling at all. It's just kind of peaceful, and the sounds diminish. So the third stage is the exploration stage. Once we move away from a consciously independent feeling of being within the body, we can explore the non-physical environment. Energy body is often experienced as a duplicate of the physical body, but consisting of a higher frequency form of energy, and I find that to be very, very true. You feel like you are elevated and suspended in space for a time, and it's like you've ratcheted up all of your senses. Everything is on like high alert. Because the method of mobility is completely unlimited. You could feel like you're walking, running, or floating. You could fly. You can soar over things. I remember some of the first experience I had with out-of-body experiences on the earth, and I will get to the different stages of it, was when I was flying over wildfires in California. I was so tied to California, and I had moved away, but it was still my home, and I still cared about it deeply, and I had an out-of-body experience during meditation, and I saw myself literally flying over the fires, and I was very close, like it was like a little hovering aircraft, over the fires, and I could see where firefighters were in trouble. I could see where the bigger patches of the fires were. And so it was a very unusual experience. And I've had a few like that on occasion. Most people think when you're talking about out-of-body travel, you travel to the other realms on the other side only. But that's not the only experience of out-of-body travel that you have. You can go and visit your family. You can visit friends. You can see what other people are doing. And you have to have a little bit of integrity here, because it is not right to spy on people when you're not invited. And I have, great reservations when people ask me to do a reading, and I may see the entity that they're talking about clearly, but they may be involved in something that I don't want to talk about, or I wouldn't report back about. So there are some rules that psychics, are involved with, where they don't tread on other people's souls and get involved in things that are none of our business. When we do out-of-body travel, you've got to have some integrity about yourself, because if you don't, you can get in trouble. Okay, the third stage, that's what we were talking about, is the exploration stage. Where you exist independent of the physical body, and you can explore the non-physical environment. Energy body is often experienced as a duplicate of the physical body, but when you're on the other side, it's a very much higher frequency. So the fourth stage in the anatomy of OBE is the reentry stage, when you're coming back into your body. That's a shocker to a lot of people when they first do it. And what reentry is the reintegration of the subtle energy body and the physical body. And it automatically occurs by simply thinking about the physical body during reentry. Sometimes when you're out of body and you're looking, and you get worried about if you can get back to your body, and snap, you'll end up right back in your body right away. And that's where you get that shock. and you can have then you can have like temporary vibrations, numbness, and catalepsy. Fear will drive you right back into the body almost instantaneously. The sensations quickly fade when you get back in phase with your physical body, however. But it can be a shock if you don't realize that just consciously thinking of your physical will cause you to re-enter and enter the re-entry stage sometimes. After you get very accustomed to doing out-of-body travel, there very seldom will you find that you have the snapback feeling upon re-entry. You're accustomed to it. I never have it, and so, I shouldn't say that. I've had it when people have startled me during meditation, for example. I have had it. My husband scared me out of 7 years' growth one time. He burst in on me, and I snapped back into body when I was looking in on someone that was ill, and it caused me to really have a shock. If you want to learn about the art and practice of out-of-body exploration, I highly recommend you get William Buhlman's books, because they will introduce you to a lot of currently practiced methods for initiating out-of-body travel. We don't have enough time here in this hour to really do that, in depth. And so there's a certain amount of preparation that I want to touch on specifically, and that is protecting your spirit and asking the Archangel Michael and all the other angels to surround you with their light, asking your guides to accompany you. Out-of-body travel is an excellent way to get in touch with your spiritual guides and your guardian angels. So, if you're going to start learning how to do out-of-body experiences, you need to create a designated exploration area other than your bedroom, because we've been taught from childhood, like Mr. Buhlman said, to sleep in our bedrooms, and sometimes it doesn't work as well trying to do out-of-body travel from your bedroom. I have followed the same basic pattern with out-of-body travel since I started, and either I lie down in the living room and I turn the phones off, or I'm in a meditative state. And then I start my general overall prayers. I ask for protection and all of that. It's kind of a ritual I do. And somebody else will have a different ritual, but 5 or 10 minutes of focused imagery and intention as you drop down into the alpha state is really far more effective than an hour of kind of vague visualization. So you need to be focused and intent on your purpose if you want to, and pick a location where you want to go so you know that you have a destination when you step out of your body. And it takes experimentation and practice. It can't be accomplished in a blink of an eye unless you were already predisposed to using this form of travel. And some people are right from birth, and they're just accustomed to it. There are an extensive variety of out-of-body exploration techniques that are available for you to use. The very act of inner exploration, it's a highly creative process, and it transcends all rules and procedures. Everybody does it different. There are many different variations of what I call the inner motion technique section that Buhlman teaches. It does not have to be frightening. It is frightening for some people because they do not prepare, and they just think they can handle it, and they fall into meditation, and they jump out of body, and all of a sudden they're faced with things on the other side that frighten them, and so it can be frightening. But you have to really take your time and select a technique that truly resonates with your body. Open your mind to your unlimited ability to explore and experience your own spiritual self, and allow your consciousness to fly. By allowing, and understanding the process, it does not have to be frightening. I want to say hello to all I've missed that have just entered the chat room, Captain and Dream Master and Lilac and a few others. Hello. We have a new co-host tonight, Numa, and if you have any problems, Numa will help you out, because once I get started, I sometimes forget about the chat, so please forgive me. Some of the inner motion techniques that Buhlman uses, I don't understand the reason behind them, but a lot of people find them really helpful. One is climbing a ladder. You can visualize climbing a ladder hand over hand, as you proceed and move out of body. The climbing technique, if you allow yourself to take deep breaths. I've tried this, and I haven't felt it was that terrific, but other people do. Some people like the climbing. You literally, what you do is you climb out of your body. That's what it is you envision, that you're climbing, you're taking your spiritual body, climbing hand over hand up a rope ladder out of your physical body. And, it just takes a lot of time that way for me, so I don't think it's that terrific. But, you're free to do that. And then there's the floating balloon technique, where you feel like you're floating upward. Now, I use that. And a friend of mine uses one called the rocking chair. And she rocks herself out of her body. And she starts slowly, with the rocking motion. She's laying down, and she starts with the rocking motion, and she just gently rocks back and forth until she finds her body is separating. And another sensation is that I use on occasion, and I told you about before, is rolling out of your body. Like I feel like I'm rolling out of I think it's because I have a waterbed. And I can just roll out of that waterbed in my mind, and I've separated. If I'm in the bedroom or I'm in the waterbed, that's the easiest way. Buhlman suggests you do not try to do this in the bedroom, but I've always done it all over the place. So I don't necessarily say don't do it that way, because whatever's easiest for you. The rolling method is easy for me. I just envision my whole body moving over and floating right out, like just dropping off into space. It works very well. Another one I use, and that's very, very effective. And, when you're lying down and you go through a relaxation technique, and like some of the meditations I have, about relaxation, go through a process of totally relaxing your body. And then you start imagining that you're becoming lighter and lighter and lighter and lifting slowly, rising out of your body. When you do that, you can find yourself feeling weightless. And then when you begin to feel weightless, you can turn and look at your body lying down where you've left it. And that's a technique that you can learn to do very easily. The rocking methodology is a little difficult for people that don't realize what they're doing. I know for a fact my mother never claimed to be a psychic, but she would sit in her rocking chair and meditate, and I would see her literally lifting out of her body. So I knew she did some astral travel. Whether she was aware of it or not, she never let me know. But I could see her as a child lifting out of her body, and I think that was my first experience in knowing that it was okay. A lot of people have a lot of fear about that, and they won't do it. And I think seeing my mother using the rocking chair as a way to rock herself out of her body, I think it kind of opened the door for me. There's, like I say, there's so many techniques. There's one called the elevator technique that Buhlman uses that I think is kind of fascinating. And, while you're in the relaxation stage, Dream Master in the chat room has a very good suggestion. And he said, she said, when I OBE, it's interesting. I call it phasing. And yes, feeling your consciousness shift through the dimensions is what it's like. And that's what I do that too, Dream. It's as if that I am going through, one stage at a time. And then I get clarity. The elevator technique is simple like that. You get on the elevator and you go through the first floor, second floor, third floor. You get to the 10th floor and you step out. And you're out of your body, then you imagine your body floating. I used to do a regression therapy technique that was very, very similar to the elevator technique for people. And I would envision them getting on a train, and each destination they would be going back in time to a point in their life. Like they'd get on the train when they were the age they are now, and then they'd go back 1 year, and then 2 years, and then 3 years, and we'd just drop them back to where they were in the womb. And so if they were going to do any life between lives analysis. So that's another technique you can use for a regression therapy, similar to the elevator technique. There are some people use imaginative type of images, to get them out too, like imagining skiing down a mountaintop and skydiving out of your body for one thing, and things like that. They use all different types of techniques, But I find meditative practices is the very best intro to learning how to out-of-body travel. You have to learn during meditation that if you are going to out-of-body travel while you're in a meditative state, and you may be the type of person that would experience the vibrational state phenomenon, that I spoke about earlier, different elements of the vibrational state, such as, floating, sinking, spinning, high energy sensations, are often reported during yoga sessions and deep meditation sessions. I never go through those, so I'm not one that can say that, what this really truly feels like. I can only report on what other people tell me that it's like. Practitioners of meditation and yoga would be wise to learn about the benefits and purposes of the vibrational energy so they're not shocked out of their meditative state. But I don't have that problem. A lot of people will fall into a meditative state by chanting and using mantras, and you can also do that to out-of-body travel also. And the Gregorian chants will take me into a meditative state and also an out-of-body state. Very easy. I could listen to them for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I'm out of body almost instantaneously. So there are pieces of music, like our friend Jill Matson's music, that takes me out of body also. So there are many different things that apply to each person individually. That's what I really want to get. There's no one set rule for this. But the reason that I recommend that you buy the books is because one of the things that Buhlman does explain to you why you should want to do traveling out of body, or why you want to advance your soul. This is one way to find out about, what's on the other side, what your life has been like, what your life is. There's many, many reasons why you need to learn how to out-of-body travel. But it is not a prerequisite for living your life. All it does is advance your soul and your understanding of who you are. And so there are challenges also to overcome that Buhlman addresses in his books. And hypnosis is another proven tool, and one that I have used and one that I use on a regular basis for inner exploration also. You can fall down into a meditative state during hypnosis, and if your practitioner, your hypnosis practitioner, gives you specific commands, you follow them. That it's proven that you will, and hypnosis can help facilitate the OBE. And I used to develop short hypnosis CDs for people to use when I was in college also. And they're very, very useful if you can't get into the correct relaxed state, because you should go through the progressive relaxation stages during meditation, and that will help you do the out-of-body travel. But, somebody asked me day before yesterday, but why should I do this? There's many reasons, and one of the main ones, it breaks our addiction to form. Our addiction to form. The soul itself possesses no form or substance of any kind, and it helps us understand the crossing over process. You know that you're an eternal being, and you're not going to be afraid when you cross over. So many humans are addicted to their bodies and the emotions associated with it. Using out-of-body travel, it helps them disassociate and become not so addicted. But there are many other reasons for doing it, and I can just probably scratch on a few. There are many trance states that psychics go through, especially those that channel, that are very similar to out-of-body experiences. And I think they are, in fact, a out-of-body experience. They just don't identify it as such. Learning out-of-body experiences, to OBEs, it's taking responsibility for your own spiritual evolution. And it's very good for your soul. And you can assist other souls. You can be a deathbed visionary. There are many reasons for doing this, so you can help others, people that are out-of-body explorers, they know instinctively that they're multidimensional spiritual beings. They're not attached or addicted to their reality, and they experience a far greater range of spiritual freedom and choices in any dimension that they explore, and there are many on the other side to explore. And they are far more likely to experience the higher vibrational heavens because they are more spiritually prepared, empowered, and experienced to do so. So what you're doing by learning out-of-body travel is that you're evolving your soul to go, when you cross over, to a higher level. You know, you're not going to stay in the same level that you started with when you incarnated. They know that, you know, most of the explorers know that their consciousness is an interdimensional path to God also. And their thoughts are powerful and creative. I can tell people till I'm blue in the face that their thoughts matter, that their voice matters, kindness matters. But once you learn to travel out of body, I would never have to tell you that important statement again. You will just instinctively know. You know, learning how to dissolve internal energy blocks also is very important with out-of-body travel. But there's, like I say, there's so many benefits to it. And it's a spiritual transition that makes you realize that you are a spiritual being. And anything else just takes second place, you know. The Tibetan monks were probably the group that really pushed the out-of-body travel in psychic exploring, and they reference, you know, the spiritual body, from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, as the Bardo body, you know. But the Tibetan Book of the Dead is rather like a training manual to provide preparation and guidance for the separation. I recommend you get familiar with that too, because it's a very interesting document. I'm very in tune with the Buddhist religions, and also I've read the Tibetan Book of the Dead many times, and each time I read it I get something else out of it, so it's really interesting. Learning to out-of-body travel gives you an insight into your life and what you're doing here. And it is enormously helpful to find out what your function as a spirit is, or what you have set out to do in this incarnation, for example. And by practicing out-of-body travel, you can get insight. And I want to go over the differences between the out-of-body travel also. I highly recommend when you first start, and if you get Buhlman's books and you start practicing and you start perhaps having a minimal success, you know, just on and off going out and in of your body, that you learn that, number one, this is a spiritual experience. You need to protect your soul, and you need to ask for protection for your soul. And there are different levels of travel. It's not like, bingo, you're out of your body, and now you're just going to roam around the world. Well, there is that, but there's also a connection to those on the other side in higher dimensional entities, like Dream Master calls them, that will share with you, like especially your spiritual guides, your guardian angels, a lot of times extended masters, and you can visit some of your loved ones that have already crossed over. And they will willingly share with you the things that you need to know if they see you have taken the effort to learn about how to control your spiritual body. So it is not a scary experience. And the reason I decided to do this show again is I had a young lady that had been calling me, and she has had spontaneous out-of-body experiences, and she was absolutely terrified. She couldn't work. She was so frightened of what was happening to her that she couldn't get control of herself. She would be sitting in a coffee shop, and all of a sudden she'd find herself over her body and all of the other people there, and she could hear their thoughts. She could see what they were thinking. She could see if they were good people or bad people or if they were liars, and it totally overwhelmed her. And she had not learned how to control out-of-body travel. And that's another thing. By practicing it and learning about it, you learn to control it so you can handle spontaneous injections into the outer realm. Padre Pio, I know you've heard me mention him before, had spontaneous out-of-body experiences. And as a Catholic priest, that was very, very disturbing to him. So he had to learn how to control it, and then he had more knowledge about it, and it became, he was what they would call a bilocation expert. He could be in two different places at one time. And that is a different phenomenon than actual out-of-body travel. It's similar, but it is it's more like teleportation. And people ask me about teleportation all the time, too. And that's another topic that's different than out-of-body travel. Out-of-body travel is really specifically associated with your spiritual body, not someone else's. Teleportation involves transporting perhaps your body to a different location. And an article of the very first time I saw a psychic teleport was they teleported a music box across great distances for people to see. And so it was my music box. That's why I was very surprised about it. But there are ways of spontaneous teleportation like Padre Pio had that had all of the similarities of out-of-body travel too. I'm not going to say just because I can travel out of body that I know everything. That is an illusion that a lot of people try to give you. I'm as much of a pilgrim as you are in seeking knowledge. I have a very, very progressive spiritual guide that helps me all the time, that helps me when I do cross over, that helps me with my questions, that showed he was the first one. Joseph was the first one to show me the Hall of Records, and the guardians of the Akashic Records introduced me to them, where I get information back from them now that I didn't get before. So there are many pluses to learning, and I hope that tonight, when we finish up here, that all of you will feel interested enough to go out and buy those two books I told you about, Buhlman's books. He's got a whole bunch of others, but these are the two that you want to read that will really help you. It's Adventures Beyond the Body, and the other one is The Secret of the Soul. And both of them are in paperback, and they're very inexpensive. If you buy his CDs now, that's another story. They're very expensive, and they're supposed to be created to help you out of body travel. And I can't attest to their validity. I've never tested them, But I hope that you will be curious enough that you will take the time to buy the books and find out about astral traveling and out-of-body traveling, because it definitely will elevate your soul. All Music in the chat room is asking a question. And All Music, we are going to be taking some calls the last hour of the show. And the call-in number is 714-888-7516. and press the number 1 so you're in the call queue. I have a very full queue tonight, so if you want to get any of your questions answered, I don't see you in the queue, All Music. I don't see your number coming up. So I don't know why, but I don't have a 267 in the queue. So you might want to try again, because BTR can do some strange things sometimes. I have about 15 people that are in the queue, actively in the queue with their. Well, BTR's doing some strange things. They had their hands up, and now I've got a whole queue where there's no hands up. So I don't know what's going on tonight. Make sure, if you want to speak to me and have me take your call, that you press the number 1, so I will know that you want to talk to me. Okay. And if you're calling in via Skype, please be prepared, for some strange things sometimes go on with Skype calls in our show. I don't know why. We might get some gurgling, and it's not too clear. Okay. Now, I forgot where I was in my sentence. I want to do some housekeeping here. Take a little break and have a drink of tea. Like I said, I do hope that all of you will be curious enough that you will go and take a chance and read the books and find out if this is something that will appeal to you. And if it is, I definitely recommend William Buhlman's books, and learn how to do this, because it has helped me in ways that I probably couldn't even define here. If I took all night to try to explain to you the benefits of it, I'd have to do another whole entire show. Today, I want to tell you, for example, I had an out-of-body experience when I was meditating in the afternoon, and I was tired, so I just, laid back in the chair, and I was just listening to some quiet music, and I was just drifting like I do sometimes when I meditate, just drifting, letting the thoughts go by, being mindful in my meditation of not stressing. And I was instantaneously out of body. And I was traveling like I sometimes do in the shape of an owl. And I was over a very snowy area, very, very snowy, cold. And I found myself on a porch, and it looked almost like a mobile home deck, the deck that was around. And I was there, an eagle was there, a white cat was there, but there was no one, standing. I couldn't figure out why I had transported myself to this cold, snowy area, and what I was doing there was like I was in a conference with some other animals, and no humans inside. And so I went into the dwelling, I imagined going in, and there was a woman that I knew in obvious distress on the couch. And I couldn't get through to her, with my spiritual body, but I immediately snapped back into my body, and I was able to call her at home. And I didn't get an answer, and I didn't get an answer, and then finally she picked up, and she could barely speak. And I asked her, do you want me to call an ambulance for you? And she said yes, and I did, and I knew her, and I knew where she lived, and she was having a heart attack. So I don't know whether God put me in that position so I could help somebody at that time, because she was a client, not really a close friend, but I knew her well, and I knew where she lived. I knew her address, and we had exchanged, letters before and emails before. So I knew where to send the ambulance, and, I knew enough to tell her to lay real quiet right there on the couch until the ambulance arrived, and she did that. And she was in pretty good shape tonight in the hospital. But if she'd have stayed too much longer, I'm afraid that she'd have had she was having a severe attack. So, having said that, that's another plus for learning how to take care of others and how to take care of yourself in your spiritual body. You can always, if you see something amiss in your spiritual body and you're traveling, you can snap back into your actual body in a just a micro minute. And I was able to call and get help for her in just instantaneously. Hi, Vico Dan. Welcome to our chat room. I'm sorry if I've missed some of the other people tonight when I was doing the show. We have a really full house, and I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. There are some things that I have to add here. I think that when we, as a group, a definite group of people get together and we pray, for example, I know about, because I astral travel, I know about the power of positive prayer. And how I learned about it was during an astral traveling experience when I was looking down on the earth and I could see all of these lights coming upward. And I asked Joseph what they were, and he says, those are prayers going to God. And it was like the night sky alive with light. So when I mention in our group on Facebook, which I wish you would all join us there, I'll give you the link in just a second. When we do prayers for people and we collectively pray for people, when you see a collective group of prayers when you're astral traveling, it is like there's lights, but then there's this huge block of light that travels together. So it carries such weight when we all pray together. So when I ask for prayers from people, like I've been asking for prayers from all of you for my son, I know the value of them. And so I'm not being facetious when I say let's get together and pray, because I know the value, specifically because I have witnessed prayers leaving the earth in solid groups for going to God, and it's an amazing experience that I wish all of you would experience just once. So, Dream Master, I hope that you will continue to share with us. She says, I could share so much with what they have shown me. Me too. I could spend hours and hours. And I've been changing the formats of the show, and I think I'm going to do more and more of letting people know what it's like on the other side through the eyes of a novice, such as myself, looking through, using astral projection, using shape-shifting, what it is like, using all of the techniques that I've learned through 75 years of my life, and how to interact with spirit on the other side, for example, the protocol of connecting with them, to see what's going to happen to our earth, to see what we're doing to our earth. I think that's why I get so, persistently, I'm a persistent nag about respecting our Mother Earth. So all of that is because I learned at a very early age to astral travel and out-of-body travel. My knowledge as a psychic has come specifically from learning what's on the other side. And I knew then that the religious dogma that I had been experiencing was not really basically the truth. It was like a story that was being told to me, and parts of the story were being left out. And so when I found out the pieces that were being left out, it made me a more complete soul. I knew what I was supposed to be doing on Earth, and I knew what my vision was, and I knew what my quest was. I know I don't always agree with it, and I fight against it. Please, I'm like everybody else. But, however, I do know what kind of promises I took to heart before I incarnated. So it's been a combination of learning regression therapy and about learning out-of-body travel. It's a form of educating yourself that those of you that are spiritual-minded, you don't want to miss it. It is something you should explore. It is something not to be afraid of. It is something to learn. It is a learning experience here on Earth, and it is very valuable. For one thing, you always know pretty much where you stand with people, and you know if they're deceiving you, for one thing, or what their intentions are. You know enough to step back and walk away when you have to. And in my early years, I didn't have all that knowledge, and I tell you, I made some serious mistakes about judgment on people, and I learned not to be so judgmental also. So, and it all comes from out-of-body travel. If you really want to evolve your soul, that's what you want to do. You want to take a chance and learn about astral traveling and out-of-body traveling. Spiritual Thinker asks a question: can you choose where to go, or do you go where Spirit takes you? A Spiritual Thinker, it can be both. When you have an instantaneous, spontaneous out-of-body experience, sometimes it's for a reason. It's to teach you about it, and you may not have a choice there. But you can put up blocks about astral traveling all you want. Anybody's able to do it. Anybody is able to do it. Some choose not to because they're too fearful. It's as simple as that. They're afraid. And so when they're afraid, they're not going to go any farther than where they are right now. They're comfortable with where they're at, and they really don't want to know too much more. And so when they get to that stage, without educating yourself, Lilac, and without learning what a out-of-body experience has been, it probably would frighten you. And if they were spontaneous, it's probably because your guides wanted you to know a few things, and you blocked it now. So you have to get over the fear, and you have to stop being afraid. And astral traveling is probably the best way to really understand your own motivations and look back over your life and do some analysis, critical analysis. So I can't recommend it more. I mean, I really can't. I can't tell you how important it is in your evolution of your soul, because it is. And all of the important gurus in the world have experienced out-of-body travel and out-of-body experiences on a regular basis. So, that's why sometimes they seem like they're one step ahead of us, and the reason behind it is they really are. They really are ahead of us because they've educated themselves, and they've learned about astral travel, how to control it, how to take care of themselves when they're in the astral body. So, that's why I recommend before you start experimenting, educate yourself. Read every book you can find out there that's going to let you know about the experience. And there is a tremendous amount on the Internet. Yeah, I mean, you know that old adage, just Google it. Well, Google William Buhlman's name, and you'll go right to his website, and he has some amazing out-of-body experiences on his website, you know, that you might find fascinating and learn about. And, you know, so there are many reasons to do this, and I wouldn't have done another show if I hadn't felt it was very important that I tell you about my experience. And then I had another experience today, like I told you, about my friend that was having a heart attack. So there are reasons that the angels want this information to get out there, is because I don't think enough people are taking advantage of it and how beneficial it is to you to elevate your soul. And right now, that we are in an ascension. We're in ascension, and we feel like we're just being pulled in all directions. The best way to stabilize your thoughts and the processes that are going along is to learn out-of-body travel so you can see how we are ascending and where we're going to go from here. So, you know, we see all this world being turned upside down, and it scares us. And I'm just as afraid as you are in lots of ways. But by fear for me means it kicks me into action to get prepared, because God expects us to take action. You know, it's not just that, okay, we're going to take care of this for you. No. We're going through ascension, and there are things that are going to happen during ascension that are not going to be pleasant. So we've got to learn and prepare, and being an out-of-body traveler is one way to do that. So that's why I decided to revisit this subject again, and I may do it again, too. So if people think I'm repetitious, it's because I think it's a topic that should be expanded upon and the fear taken out of it. And it's not a woo-woo thing. It is really something all of us can do with a little practice. All of us. Not any exception. All of us can do it. The only reason you can't is because you just con yourself into being afraid. Because that's the only reason, you know, you might not want to explore it.